Trump, the 45th president of the United States, a man whose licentious and felonious behavior has been well cataloged and documented, returned to the Capitol Rotunda just 4 short years after inspiring in that very place a day of riotous shit-f***ery. Returned to the exact same room. Now, generally, if this were a Dateline documentary, he would return to that room to express a form of repentance and maturity and acknowledgement of the pain that had been wrought on that terrible day. But in this show that we're filming now, it's to be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. And as with most returning to the scene of the crime, it began with tea with the people you tried to steal it from.
A short time ago, President Joe Biden greeted Mr. and Mrs. Trump at the White House for tea, an inaugural tradition.
It's always important to keep up the tea tradition when you hand over the keys to, I'm sorry, what did you call them? Hitler? But gotta be a good host. Hey, the Wi-Fi password is White House, but I changed the I to a 1. I hope that's not weird. I'm not saying Biden should have done his own insurrection, but there's got to be a happy medium between storming the Capitol and, would you like a crumpet? But everyone showed up. Yes, it's the Supreme Court taxiing in. Oh, please. They're taxiing in like the private jets some of them take to caged pheasant hunts. All very legal. And America's illustrious senators like Amy Klobuchar and Deb Fischer. And, of course, Hakeem Jeffries were there. And Fetterman was, come on. Fetterman. Really? Shorts? It's not even an inaugural decorum thing. It's freezing out there. It's a health concern. Fetterman is literally America's teenage son. It's your grandma's funeral. I told you I don't like long pants. Fine, be cold. Even the president's family attended, most of whom didn't have to be warned not to do that weird thing with their hands. Don't do it with your hands. Can you just be normal for a day? What was he doing? Literally like, look at my dick. Huh? What? No? Okay. But not to worry. Also attending were all those people who warned Americans to shun this wannabe fascist dictator called Trump. Look at me, Ma. Oh, let's go see Hitler and get a quick selfie first. Hello, look at us. Oh, a quick one for the gram. Yes, former President Obama was there. George Bush seemed kind of there. Definitely high. Even Mike Pence showed up, I guess, to let the crowd finish the job. Michelle Obama seemed to have the consistent ethical stance of saying, when they go low, I stay the home. I don't care. I am staying. Of course, Jill Biden was there, making the strategic choice of keeping her purse on, which, as you know, is the international symbol of, I've got to go, kids. But the award for most useful fashion accessory went to the ever-stylish Melania Trump, whose Audrey Hepburn-esque chapeau, or head cloche, as it's called, doubled as an effective... If you don't control your borders... you don't have a head. Meanwhile, many dignitaries went not only hatless, but hairless, with a plethora of stocky, bald billionaires who all seem to go to the same biohack life extension clinic and say, "Give me the Lex Luthor." Yes, taking the place of seats normally reserved for Democratic or Republican governors sat Zuck, Bezos, Tim Cook, Elon, Tic Tac guy, Google guy. The 6 guys who control maybe 20% of the world's wealth and 100% of your nudes. You don't need to pretend with me. I don't know what he's talking about. Delete, delete, delete. Populism, ladies and gentlemen. Shouldn't this gathering be happening in a volcano's lair near Zurich? Or are we just open source Illuminati now? Where's the conspiracy fun in that? Honestly, there is not a useful app of communication not controlled by at least one of these individuals. And you may not be concerned that they've all ponied up $1 million to be sitting there and are kissing the ass of a president who openly threatens non-ass kissers. But trust me, shit's gonna get weird. Even by that afternoon, shit got weird.
This appearance of Elon Musk at an earlier Trump rally is getting loads of attention because of a one-armed gesture he made.
This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Okay. Charitably, I'm going to say that was just an awkward, my heart goes out to you gesture. Many of you might have done it like this. You know, even Taylor Swift has done that, you know, my heart, but she almost never does the goes out to you. Like, just always stays with, but, you know, listen, it's nerve-wracking day. You're not normally a public speaker. It's a one-off gesture. Please try not to use it again. Son of a bitch! You really want to make sure the people in the back see it, I guess. I'm just going to be generous and say maybe that was Elon's attempt at dabbing on the haters? I don't... By the way, do people still dab on haters? Was that a very old man? Okay. Wasn't that a thing at one time? No, I think it's important in these troubled times to continue to dab on the haters. But don't be concerned that these tech titans control Google and TikTok and WhatsApp and Instagram and X and any other way that we communicate in the year of our Lord 2025 because, you know, they're not going to censor us. And it doesn't matter anyway because I know in my heart we don't need any of them because we'll always have you, messenger pigeon. No! No! How dare you, sir? Why, messenger pigeon? Why would you turn on me? I let you live in a cage on my roof surrounded by your own shit. Do you know, I asked them to make that animation at like 5 o'clock tonight. It was literally, with everything else going on in the show, and I was literally like, could you make me a pigeon doing this? And they were just like, sure. Anyway, then it was time for the swearing in on the kind of on the Bible. Yes, it turns out Trump didn't actually put his hand on the Bible. Obviously, because one or the other would burst into flames. Perhaps both. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the torch has been passed from Biden to Trump. Yes, the torch has been passed to the same generation of Americans. Let's hear from the 47th president, fresh off the warm embrace of a tea ceremony with his predecessor.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place.
He's right behind you. Luckily, I don't think he can hear you. Yes, the inaugural speech followed the American tradition of a passive-aggressive transfer of power. The incoming president gets to completely shit on the outgoing president in front of that president and hopefully his spouse.
In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly. Record inflation, trying to socially engineer race and gender, disastrous invasion of our country. It's a radical and corrupt establishment, vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
This is a tumultuous time in American history, filled with much uncertainty and trepidation. But it is very difficult for me to not in any way take the bait of the way he said, "Dickline." It really did sound like he said, "Our dick line." Like the line of our dick. So you can see America's dick line? I mean, how are you going to end our dick line? With a tuck or a full reassignment? Or is this more about Fetterman's shorts? What about our dick line? I am a child. But as bad as things were, guess what, folks? Daddy's home. It's about to get a whole lot better.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before. We will win like never before. We will be a rich nation again. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again. We will drill, baby, drill.
Ooh, I think I just saw J.D. Vance's dick line. Drill, baby, drill. Whoop. But for all the day's eerie energy, one thing stood out to America's watchdogs of democracy.
We have watched as the 47th president of the United States has been sworn in, the cornerstone of democracy.
This is the true transfer of power here of the current president and the former president making this walk.
This process is what distinguishes the United States from a lot of other parts of the world.
Yeah, it's all just normal shit. It's just another day. It's all just normal transfer power shit. We're just going to play along like all this theater is normal. Oh, except there was one thing that might have given the game away.
With just 20 minutes or so left in his presidency, we've just gotten word from President Biden that he is pardoning his brothers, their wives, his sister, other family members. He says that he is doing this because baseless and politically motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives of individuals.
It's all just normal. First of all, Biden, you're at the inauguration. Did you auto-schedule your pardons? And second of all, what the f***, man? You're just pardoning your whole family? It's not a great look. Yeah, like any good captain, as the ship is going down, Biden gave the order, "That lifeboat is for my family." The rest of you can do just like a kind of Jack and Rose thing. One on, one off, 50-50 shot, who gives a shit? Biden outie. So the takeaway of this entire day was, a man who tried to overthrow the government has been peacefully handed the reins of power. And the outgoing president has started a new tradition of blanket pardoning everyone in his orbit. The two men creating a magnificent snake sucking its own dick cycle of no accountability. And then, of course, we end with the grand finale. The attack on Greenland has begun!
Yesterday, that dude signed over 100 executive actions. I mean, look at them. He froze the federal hiring bill, something about genders. There, he said Cuba's a state-sponsored terrorist now. He renamed a mountain. Dishwashers are less efficient. What, he can do that? Look, he has so many executive actions, they had to scroll through the tracks like it was an ad for, now that's what I call MAGA. And being the showman that he was, Trump wasn't going to sign these behind a desk with a pen and paper like a nerd, okay? No, he turned this into an arena show.
At Capital One Arena in front of a crowd of supporters, Trump putting into motion his day one actions.
After President Trump signed the executive orders at a desk that was placed on stage, he had a pile of pins. Well, President Trump decided to toss the pins to some of his supporters.
Wow. Whoever caught that pen is so lucky. I mean, that is going to be such a cool thing for those guys to show their kids once they get their visitation rights back. And even after he got back to the White House, he just kept signing. I mean, this guy was so in the zone, he didn't even know what he was signing.
Withdrawing from withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Sir.
Ooh. He's withdrawing from the World Health Organization like he's hearing the dessert options. Yeah, I'll have the tiramisu and potential measles outbreak with that. I mean, if you could put anything in front of him yesterday, he would have signed it. Melania, now's your chance to update the prenup. Go. But you know... But you know what? I'm not going to be shitting on President Trump, okay? Okay, sure, he pulled out of the WHO. But who are those guys? What are the odds there's ever going to be a pandemic requiring global cooperation? So I'm going to go to President Trump with an open mind. You know, he won the election, which means he's a great guy who's right. So I'm sure his executive orders are reasonable.
Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords.
Okay, look, I know that sounds bad for these woke liberals, but does it really matter? You know, 1 year we're in, next year we're out. We've been doing the hokey pokey with these guys for 12 years. They don't even put us in a group chat anymore, okay? Also, newsflash, Paris Accord, we're not gonna reach the emission goals anyway, okay? This world is over. It's just an excuse to go to Paris, which, overrated, okay? So, fine, he's taking us out of anything that involves the rest of the world, okay? I'm sure there's other executive orders that aren't any worse.
Among the many executive orders President Trump signed on Monday was this one, pausing the TikTok ban for 75 days. He says the United States should broker a deal to own half of the platform.
I think the U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner.
See? He brought back TikTok. Just as my brain was regaining its higher order functions. I mean, oh my God, that was close. Now, if you remember, TikTok was originally banned because everyone thinks it gives China too much influence over Americans. And to be fair, before I started using TikTok, I was a white guy from Iowa, okay? But the point... The point is, the people have spoken, okay? We want China to change our brains. What absolute idiot even thought of banning it in the first place?
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, President Trump, for saving us from that guy. What I'm saying is, all these executive orders aren't bad, okay? I mean, what else is he doing?
And Trump is going to try, through executive order, to end birthright citizenship. It's a constitutional right that those born on American soil are U.S. citizens, regardless of their parents' immigration status.
Okay, that does sound like a major change. Birthright citizenship has been in the Constitution for over 100 years. But, on the other hand, should you just be a U.S. citizen just because you were born here? I mean, I think all citizens should have to prove that they're truly American by taking a quiz on American history and failing it. Okay? if your score's above 60, you're going back to Asia or whatever shithole country has educational standards. And to be fair, nothing too extreme so far. I mean, it sounds like there's a campaign Trump that says things to win, and then there's a President Trump who rules more moderately.
Overnight, with the stroke of a pen, President Trump issuing sweeping pardons to nearly all of the rioters charged for their actions on January 6th.
So this is January 6th.
Trump even granting clemency to the more than 600 people charged with assaulting or resisting law enforcement.
Okay, look, freeing violent criminals from prison seems less moderate and more like something Bane did, okay? But you know what? If you know your history in that situation, Batman fixed it, okay? So concerns are overblown. And look, these guys have been in prison for like 2 whole months already, okay? I'm sure they've learned their lesson.
Jacob Chansley, we know him as also the QAnon shaman. He put out something on social media where he said, "I got a pardon, baby. Thank you, President Trump. Now I am going to buy some mother effing guns."
See, he learned his lesson. It's only day 2 of Trump's presidency, and already everyone is mad at him. I mean, guys, can you give him a minute? Let him sit down. It started in the morning when Trump went to the traditional post-inauguration church service, which is not exactly his preferred way to start the day. It's never fun for him to be a guest at someone else's rally. And to make matters worse, the preacher was kind of preachy.
Mr. President, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. Gay, lesbian, and transgender children, and the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
New executive order. We are banning church. Hey, Bishop, please, all right? We don't go to church to hear a lecture about having mercy on the less fortunate. That's not what church is for. And Trump was like, I only came here because I heard there were free crackers, and now I'm getting roasted by Tig Notaro. He was probably looking up at Jesus on the cross and thinking, hey, you and me both, brother. To be fair, I mean, can you imagine going to church and the pastor is only addressing you? Like, this next sermon is about the sinners, the cheaters, the degenerate gamblers. Gary? The point is, no one has ever had a worse time in church than Trump did. And yes, I've seen Spotlight. And you could tell that he had a bad time because of the way he came out of the church super bitchy.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting?
Yeah, does that excite you? Did you like that? Watching your president get lectured to by Bishop Rachel Maddow? Get your little liberal card, you sick f***. And is this how we do presidential press conferences now? This is like TMZ at the departures hall at LAX. It's like, hey, Mr. President, what do you think about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni? But after getting yelled at by this church Karen, Trump was also getting yelled at by everyone just because he released hundreds of violent insurrectionists back into the streets or something. And yeah, okay, they beat some cops and broke some windows, but they were doing it for him. No one seems to understand that, and the media won't shut up with these unfair gotcha questions.
You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything.
We'll take a look at everything. Shouldn't you look at it before you issue the pardon? It's like step 1, release the prisoners. Step 2, look into which prisoners we should release. F***ing nailed it. So, part 1 of his answer about this whole Jan 6 thing is, well, take a look, which is Trump speak for, we will never look at this again. But if that doesn't satisfy you, he has another reason.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything, but I can say this. Murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in L.A., where people murder people and they don't get charged.
See? Some murderers aren't in jail, therefore nobody should be in jail. Okay? Also, think big picture here. If he lets these violent criminals go, there's a chance they'll kill the other violent criminals and then they'll just cancel each other out. And to be fair to Trump, he has been campaigning on releasing the Jan 6 prisoners for years now. Everyone just assumed he didn't mean the violent ones, which would mean going through all the cases one by one, but that's not really Trump's style.
New reporting from Axios this morning details the private back and forth amongst President Trump's team over how many January 6th rioters to pardon.
The case-by-case review was onerous. Trump staffers wondered whom to pardon and who might slip through the cracks. Time was running out heading into Inauguration Day. As Trump's team wrestled with the issue, Trump just said, F it, release them all.
I have never related to Trump more, all right? This PDF is 400 pages? Okay, f*** it. All crime is legal. And look, you can't expect someone to go through all these cases one by one. I mean, the FBI did, and the prosecutors did, and the judges did, and the juries, and the paralegals, and the person who types on that weird little typewriter no one else knows how to use. But Trump is busy, okay? It's much easier to just click select all, delete. So in the very first 7 hours of the Trump administration, we already have our first big controversy, which of course leads to the classic ritual of a Trump presidency. He does something crazy, then Republicans get asked about it, and they're like, oh, what? I didn't see it.
Do you agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people?
If they were truly violent, no, but do I know that they were? I don't know that.
Is January 6th pardons?
Well, I've said what I said before, and that is we're not looking backward.
I haven't seen the details, but I think a lot of those pardons were definitely well deserved.
But what about those who assaulted police officers and then were pardoned by the president?
I haven't seen any. I haven't gone to the detail.
We're talking about people that were beating officers with fire hydrants, with metal batons. Is that acceptable to you?
No.
Those people were pardoned.
No, that's not acceptable, but I didn't see it. So.
What do you mean?
It's on video.
I didn't see it.
No spoilers. Tommy Tuberville didn't watch Jan 6 yet, okay? He'll get to it, but there's just so much to watch these days, you know? He's still got 9/11 and Benghazi on his DVR. I mean, you were a senator on Jan 6. Like, what do you mean you didn't see the insurrection? You lived it. This is like a Titanic survivor saying, I haven't seen the movie. Don't tell me what happens. So, to sum up day one of Trump's presidency, church is bad, beating cops is good. So I guess he's a Democrat now. It's almost the end of Trump's first week in office, and he's done a lot. He shut down windmills, he saved TikTok, he caught Carmen Sandiego, and the man just can't stop, won't stop. On Monday, he wiped out all federal DEI programs, and yesterday he ordered that if if you see anyone trying to be inclusive, you better tell teacher.
The Trump administration asking federal workers to snitch on their coworkers in a rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Employees have been told to report any colleagues who work in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles, or they could face consequences. NBC News obtained emails sent to multiple agencies that say some of these programs are disguised using coded or imprecise language.
Yeah, you hear that? Don't even think about doing DEI in secret, all right? Don't be meeting up in back alleys like, yo, you got any lesbian resumes for me today? And I know you think DEI was only invented in 2020 by Democrats looking for a fresh new way to lose elections. But Donald Trump is dedicated to rooting out DEI all throughout history.
One of the president's executive orders revokes an executive order signed by President Lyndon Johnson in 1965 that the Trump administration says mandated affirmative action.
That's right. Donald Trump went back in time to kill baby DEI. It's kind of impressive that he got this much focus. Trump is doing deep dives into these obscure old policies like he's MAGA John Oliver. And look, I'm not going to pretend to know more about civil rights law than Donald Trump. I mean, he's been sued over it many times. But if a discrimination law has been around since 1965, it might be a load-bearing civil rights thing, so maybe don't touch it. But DEI is not the only thing Trump is shutting down. He's also shutting down illegal immigration. In fact, it was probably the biggest thing he talked about during the campaign, aside from Arnold Palmer's penis, which is actually a thing that happened. But today, Trump faced his first setback.
Breaking news out of Seattle. A federal judge has just temporarily blocked President Trump's order attempting to end birthright citizenship.
The judge in this case is saying that they have been on the bench for over 4 decades. And this is a quote from the judge inside the courtroom. I can't remember another case where the question presented is as clear as this one. This is a blatantly unconstitutional order.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What does the Constitution have to do with this? The Constitution is for gun stuff, okay? Who died and make this woke activist a judge, huh? Ronald Reagan. That liberal cuck. This judge has been judging for 4 decades and has never seen something, and I quote, so blatantly unconstitutional. I mean, that's like the judge equivalent of a Kendrick diss track. Like, all the other judges were like, oh shit, we concur. Usually the judge says this is constitutional or unconstitutional, okay? But this is like next level unconstitutional. This is like if you took a pregnancy test and it said you are the least pregnant anyone's ever been in 40 years. But Trump doesn't expect all these executive orders to pass legal scrutiny. He's signing those things the way like guys swipe right on every Tinder profile, okay? Yo, he just needs 1 or 2 to hit and that's the weekend, baby. The point is, Trump is going to try whatever he can to shut the border down. And last night, Trump sat down for some conversation and light manspreading with Sean Hannity to explain why.
In an Oval Office sit-down last night, President Trump repeated false claims that other countries are sending their prisoners here.
They've emptied their jails. I would, if I were the president or prime minister or something of another country, I'd empty my jails right into America.
You did do that. Like 3 days ago. With the Jan 6 thing, remember? That guy handed you all those Cheesecake Factory menus and you signed them all? That was the thing. But look, Trump doesn't care whether migrants are technically criminals or not, because he can tell just by looking at them.
Sean, who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble, could be trouble. There are people coming in with tattoos all over their face. Their entire face is covered with tattoos.
That identifies.
Typically, you know he's not going to be the head of the local bank.
Breaking news, old man not fan of tattoos. And yeah, probably the guys with face tattoos aren't going to be bankers. But maybe bankers should have face tattoos. I mean, 1 teardrop for every loan application they've denied. Hey, stay clear of JP Morgan. That guy's loco.